The overhead fire alarm test screeched through the whole convention center at exactly 2 in the afternoon, and I watched a man 3 seats down from me stand up so fast his badge lanyard smacked him in the chin, like he'd been half expecting an actual emergency, half hoping for one, honestly. "It's a test," I said. "They announced it this morning." "I know." He rubbed his chin, sat back down, badge now reading Dr. Ethan Cole, and pretended to study his conference program like nothing had happened. I was stretching. "Sure you were." That was the first time I heard his voice, and it took maybe 4 more minutes for me to hate him properly, because when the moderator opened the floor for questions after the pediatric nutrition panel, he raised his hand and picked apart my colleague's sample size like he was auditioning for a debate team, and I felt this hot, unreasonable loyalty flare up even though I barely knew the presenter. "I'm Dana Whitfield. I've been a clinical dietitian for going on 4 years now, mostly pediatric rehab, and I had my own poster going up the next morning on refeeding protocols for adolescent patients. I didn't think about Ethan Cole again until that evening, when I found out, from the program addendum slipped under my hotel room door, that his poster was directly across the aisle from mine. Of course, I said out loud, to nobody, to the hotel carpet. The next morning, I got there early to set up, taping my corners down just right, and he was already there, arranging his own board with an engineer's precision, everything squared off, color-coded. He glanced over at my half-finished layout, at the poster board slightly crooked because the easel wobbled, and didn't say anything, which somehow felt worse than if he had. "You can say it," I told him. "Say what?" "Whatever's making that face happen." He almost smiled. Almost. "I wasn't making a face. You were making a very specific face, the one that means, her tape job concerns me." That got an actual laugh out of him, short and surprised, like it had escaped before he could stop it, and for one strange second the whole convention hall, the carpet smell, the murmuring crowd, the distant clatter of a coffee cart, went quiet around just the 2 of us. Then he cleared his throat and went back to his color-coded charts, and I went back to fixing my tape, and I told myself that was that. It wasn't that. Over the 2 days, we kept ending up in the same rooms, arguing in the polite, coded way professionals argue, where every disagreement about methodology is actually a small skirmish about who's smarter, who prepared more, who deserves the room's attention. He caught an error in my citation during the Thursday breakout and said it out loud, in front of 11 other people, and I wanted to disappear into the floor. I caught him overstating his own findings during his Friday talk and asked a question sharp enough that his ears went red, and I did not feel guilty about it, not even a little, not even later that night when I lay in my hotel bed replaying his face. The turn happened somewhere I didn't expect it, not in a session, but in the hotel bar at nearly midnight, both of us there separately, both of us too wired to sleep, both of us nursing the conference's terrible $8 club sodas because neither of us wanted to explain a hangover to a 9 a.m. crowd. "Can I ask you something?" he said, sliding onto the stool one down from mine, leaving a gap like he wasn't sure he was invited. "And you don't have to answer if it's weird." "Depends how weird." "Do you actually dislike me, or is this a conference thing? Like we're just doing what conferences make people do?" I turned that over for longer than was comfortable. The honest answer surprised me on the way out. "I don't dislike you. I dislike how much I notice you. Those are different problems." He didn't say anything clever back, which somehow made it land harder. He just looked at me, really looked, in that unguarded way people only manage when they're too tired to perform anymore, and said, "Yeah, same problem actually." We ended up talking until almost 2 in the morning about things that had nothing to do with sample sizes or citations, his little sister's rough year, my dad's stubborn refusal to see a specialist, the particular loneliness of being good at your job in a field that rewards you by making you compete against the only people who understand you. I found out he'd requested his poster placement near mine on purpose, weeks ago, after seeing my abstract title in the program and wanting, in his words, to see if you were as sharp as it sounded. I told him that was either the most romantic or most unhinged thing anyone had said to me at a professional conference, and he said, "Fair, it could be both." Saturday morning, the awards session. They called runner-up for best poster first, his name, and best overall went to me, and I watched something cross his face for half a second, quick as a shadow, before he stood and clapped louder than anyone in the room. Afterward, in the lobby, badges practically brushing, he said, "I want to be annoyed. I'm trying to locate the annoyed feeling." Find it yet? No. I think it left when they announced it, actually. I think I'm just proud instead, and that's deeply inconvenient for me. I laughed, and it surprised me how much I meant it, how the rivalry that had felt like armor all week had quietly become something else, not soft exactly, but warmer, sharper in a different direction, aimed at wanting instead of winning. We exchanged numbers standing by the escalators while people rolled suitcases past us, and he asked, almost shy about it now that there was no audience of colleagues to perform for, whether conferences like this happened often enough that we might end up in the same city again. I still think about that sometimes, how easily the whole thing could have stayed what it looked like from the outside, two overachievers scoring points off each other for 3 days and going home unchanged. I wonder how many people leave these conferences having almost had that same conversation and just didn't, too proud or too tired or too sure that liking a rival was some kind of professional failure. We texted for 2 months before either of us said out loud what we both already knew, and even now, a year and a half later, we argue about literature reviews the way other couples argue about whose turn it is to do dishes, like it's foreplay, honestly, in its own ridiculous way. He proposed at a conference, if you can believe that, this past spring, in the same hotel, by the same wobbly poster easel, and told the story afterward to anyone who'd listen, always ending it the same way. Best runner-up prize I ever got. I still think that's a terrible line. I also think about it more than I'll admit.